A cave next to the bird's nest suddenly spits money out. There is a treasure worth $700 million inside. People who want to usurp the jewels all come here. They prepare to get their own treasure. Person who discovers this treasure, named Mark. Mark and his teammates went to the beach to dig gold a few months ago. Their generator was exploded. It makes their boat sink into the sea and creates waves. A piece of debris drifts close to their boat. This is the treasure Mark has been looking for 8 years. He happily embraces and kisses his teammates. This boat is sponsored by a black owner. Mark said he found this plate. It is related to a treasure worth $700 million. It is worth the same as 100 boats. He thinks that Mark is duping him. This plate costs $100 million. It is impossible. One punch makes Mark pass out. Throw in the sea as bait for fish. Mark struggles frantically and grabs a gun. He shoots him. But he still couldn't get on the boat. He is swept away by the waves. Mark breaks the chain and successfully escapes. Then he frantically runs away. It is an important day for Mark. This blonde wants to divorce Mark. Mark said he can't get a divorce. Mark draws about that plate. There is a blue badge on it. This is the treasure that they have been looking for 8 years. She hesitates for a few seconds. But she thinks that was probably a lie of Mark. Because he's a bragging person. I spent all my young for it, but finally we have lose. You promised that you would always make me laugh, but it was just a lie. She takes a stick and hits him. She gets back to her office to check the documents. This time Mark does not dupe her. That piece of plate, it is really related to the treasure worth $700 million. Mark now has no sponsor. He also has no boat, so what should he do? Mark decides to drive a motorboat. He suddenly jumps and catches a head of billionaire's daughter. His boat is it. Now he reaches out her family. The giant considers him as a benefactor to save his daughter's life, then entertains him to delicious meal. Unexpectedly, his wife is a waiter on this yacht. She looks at Mark. She was so surprised. Then she throws away all dishes. Mark tells him that 300 years ago, a Spanish boat which transports treasure unluckily has an accident on the sea, so the treasure cost $700 million has been sunk. Mark and his wife have looked for it for 8 years. Now they finally find out the clue. The giant is very interested in it. Then he decides to travel by his yacht to find the treasure. They quickly find out an island, but Mike, who is looking for the treasure, also comes here. Mark jumps into the sea. Then he sees some dynamites. He starts to find the treasure. He silently removes all the dynamites. To help Mark to save time, his wife tells the daughter to come and say hello. She distracts them. But the silly girl suddenly points at the seabed and says that it wasn't Mark. Dynamites are suddenly exploded and make Mark fly onto Mike's boat. They hit him then let him go. He goes back and finds Black Boss and advises him to join in his plan. Mark is very wicked. He wants the Black Boss and Mike to be in a fight, and he does nothing. Mark and his teammates sink in the sea to find the treasure. He has found all day long, but it was in vain. Black Boss flies an airplane. Then he comes here next day to start their plan. At night, Mark and his teammates rest by the beach because they didn't find out the treasures, so they felt very upset. The captain says to the giant that it is stormy outside, so their yacht would be sunk. We must stop by the beach to avoid wind. The daughter says that the yacht is so close to shore, so it cannot be sunk. We are really lost our face. He awakens Mark. That year the captain had an accident. Mark speculated because he didn't want the treasure is sunk into the seabed, so he decided to stop by the sea for asylum. Mark and his wife put on a diving suit to find the treasure. Finally, they have found a clue. It is the wreck of the boat which was sunk that year. Unfortunately, Mark and his teammates search everywhere. They don't find out the treasure. Where are you, treasure? Mark has looked for it so hard. 2 days later, Mark and his wife drive their motorcycle to a church on the island. The wife finds out a clue related to the treasure in an old diary book. Unfortunately, they have been digging all day but they don't see any trace. The wife stumbles into a rock. There is something under it. Mark prizes the rock up. There is a line of text on the rock. It is a clue that they are looking for. Mark digs for half a day and then gets a wooden crate. There is a diary book and some texts on it. That year while the boat was aground, the captain has been here for 1 year. He buried the treasure under a gateway of the wind. After 8 years of trying hard, they finally find out the treasure. But now, Black Boss and his juniors come here. Without any explanations, the wife becomes a hero. She picks up the shovel to hit opponent. 1 hit. They run away. The wife is fallen. The motorcycle is exploded. She thinks that her husband was died. Actually, Mark is still alive. The Black Boss constrains the wife to find out the treasure. Based on the clue, she guesses the treasure in this fountain. She ties the rope to her body and jumps down. There is nothing. He cuts off the rope. She dives to a cave and finds out the treasure. But now the waves are coming. She has to tie tightly. Tries to avoid accidents. A big wave smashes a chest. Gold and coins are splashed out. They are gonna be rich this time. Mark runs to the beach. He phones Mike and asks him to find the Black Boss. or he will monopolize this treasure. Mark asks the daughter to come, to drive the boat to save his wife and treasure. Mark comes and sees the wife is in the cave. Mark jumps down to save her. Mark holds an inferior of the black boss to save his wife. The second fierce wave is coming. They tie each other to a rock, and the inferior is swept away by the waves. He sees the treasure and laughs wistfully. But Mike and the giant is coming. Mike jumps into the sea. The black boss gives his inferior a gun. It's hurt. Mark and his wife promptly chase here and save Mike. The black boss sees this bad situation. He wants to escape with the treasure, but the 300-year chest early was corroded. It is broken. Gold, silver and jewels are all sunk into the sea. It's a pity. The chest even hit the inferior. The giant is going to shoot, but the black boss holds Mark's wife. Then he takes her in his helicopter. The wife hits him, but he hits her and makes her fall into a faint. Mark is in a motorboat and chases after the helicopter. Now he doesn't care about the treasure anymore. He just wants to save his wife. Mark is very reckless. He jumps on the helicopter, flying in the air. The black boss now is shocked. Why are you so obstinate? Suddenly, the wife wakes up and kicks him fall into the sea. He shoots at the gas tank. It is so dangerous. Mark gets in the helicopter and drives it. Perhaps they are safe now. The helicopter is out of control. It crashes into the sea. Luckily they are still safe. They have no wounds. A few months later, she and Mark open a museum for public use. They do not monopolize the treasure. They have contributed it and have built a museum for everyone to visit. They also don't afraid of stealing. This movie named A Secret Under the Sea. It is about a man who is looking for a treasure. He suddenly finds out a fragment. He considers it is a clue to find the treasure of 300 years ago. This $700 million treasure, called the Spanish Queen's Dowry,